everybody. Travis and I were at the ICPA 2026 ICPA annual conference, and we kind of wanted to get on here and do a little wrap up, some takeaways from what we experienced kind of on the floor at the conference, as well as even in the sessions. So thought I would ask a few questions of Travis to kind of see what his experience was and the conversations he had. So, Travis, so bonds, obviously, bonds and bond sufficiency have been a big topic this past year, as we are intimately aware of. Did you encounter any reoccurring questions about the bond, any specific reoccurring questions about the bond at this year's ICPA?
Well, people searched us out, and as expected, a lot of them had thoughts and experiences from their import bonds and how tariffs had impacted them. And just the reoccurring conversation over and over again wasn't really even a question, but people wanted to say, we've had to increase 2 or 3 times in the past 6 months. And, they just talk about their experience, how they thought maybe it went well, or how it was more frustrating than they had expected. And just talk to somebody about the bonds and say that they thought they had placed a sufficient bond, it wasn't sufficient, they had to place again. So it was, if anything, these tariffs are driving some attention towards import bonds, when before they were kind of on cruise control in the background. A lot of people in the import world are paying more attention, and even finance people in importing companies are learning more about the bond. And hopefully we're coming out ahead after these experiences, and there's more attention. So we do face fewer situations where there's insufficient bonds within a 12-month period.
Yeah, I think I encountered that a lot too. People just kind of wanting to almost vent about their experience on the customs bond. Yeah, and I think that's one big takeaway I kind of found is, I mean, again, you and I feel it all the time. We work in the bond business. But for a lot of people, customs bonds are not something they're really thinking about very much. Suddenly they're having to think about it a lot. And I know you and I have always kind of said, like, well, this is a good opportunity to get more people to understand what the bond is all about.
They're being forced to. You got
So you were a speaker this year at ICPA. What topic did you speak on? Also, do you have one kind of core takeaway from that presentation?
Sure. I was on the global track, so import bonds and compliance and stacking liability was the topic, and what we're seeing as a result of the tariffs. The takeaway, it just mirrors, I think a lot of people came to the talk simply because they've had to visit the bond so much more frequently than they had in the past. And I think there is a higher understanding of stacking liability, and understanding that from the insurance company's perspective, and what the insurance companies faced with when they faced that unpredictable scenario of an increase after 2 months and an increase after 4 months. So maybe the learning curve is pretty steep, and more and more importers are starting to get it. But the takeaway from that talk was that people want to be ahead of it. They want to know more about the bond. They want to be able to look at reporting that gives them a good understanding of where the bond is. And, that information is out there. You just got to know what to look at and what to consider.
Yeah. Yeah. And if anyone watching this, if we're also in attendance at that conference, and we haven't passed that 60-day mark after the conference, go watch Travis's session. Hopefully you enjoy it. We also love to hear back from people about anytime we do a session, what they think, maybe a topic you'd want us to cover in the future, hopefully maybe at next year's ICPA. So we also did a pop-up at our booth this year, kind of our first time. Can you describe what that was all about?
Sure. Yeah. And, we've been attending the ICPA conference year after year for a while now. And one of our clients, Sarah Bauer-Sachs of Keene, volunteered and said she wanted to be, in her words, a brand ambassador of TRG. So we've been working with Sarah for more than a decade now on her import bond on 2 different companies. And she's just a great client and a great partner, and she understands it from multiple perspectives. And she was an early adapter and really jumped on our Eagle Eye Ace software, the dashboard, the online dashboard that is available to all of our bond clients that shows surety ace information, and it's adapted and adjusted for an easily digestible spreadsheet, not spreadsheets, but more charts and graphs. And it's a great way to start a conversation internally within your company and get your hands on that data that a lot of importers want. But Sarah sees the value in that, and she was pretty outspoken and wanted to have a pop-up session at our booth in between the usual planned out sessions. So she spent 15 minutes, and the lead up to it, she walked around with a sign saying, "Bonds are not boring. Talk to me at the TRG booth." And we got a pretty good crowd there. I think people enjoyed it, and I certainly enjoyed it. I couldn't be happier or more grateful for that partnership with Sarah Bowersox and Keen, because that software, that Eagle Eye Ace software, really is a key for many of our clients to feeling better, to having more transparency, and to hear that from a client and from her perspective is pretty valuable. So I was really appreciative of that, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It also, like you said, it's great hearing from, from a compliance professional using our software, how it is helping her and her team on the day to day. I mean, it's great for us even to hear. But yeah, really appreciate her for doing that. And if you missed it, or if you weren't at the event this year, we always love to talk about Eagle Eye Ace and let people know what it's all about. So what was one major message or kind of lesson that you personally took away from this year's ICPA?
One message that I took away from this year's ICPA is that people really like to challenge the idea that bonds are not boring. That is, going back to that pop-up that Sarah Bowersox worked with us on. One way we promoted that, and Sarah wanted to promote that was to say that bonds are not boring. And the thought is that, bonds allow you to have access to something like Eagle Eye Ace with a lot of data and a lot of allowing importers to see their data in a different light from a different perspective. So bonds are not boring. There's a lot to learn from them. Now, Meredith, I know you walked around with that sign quite a bit, and people really maybe are always going to believe bonds are boring. I understand that perspective, but the fact of the matter is they're not going away. Customs enforcement is real now more than ever, and the bond is part of that. So we hope that by getting out at these conferences, by putting out videos just like this, people can change your view of the bond a bit. It's not just a checkbox. It maybe in 2015 or before, it's something you could just renew year after year and not think about it. But if you import with any frequency at all, it has to be on your radar. And there is data behind the bond that can help your importing practices and provide clarity for yourself if you're an importing professional, or if you're kind of adjacent, if you're in finance or a different department, but your responsibilities overlap, that Eagle Eye Ace can provide a lot of clarity. So we believe bonds are not boring, but man, that statement does stir some emotion with importers right now, especially because they might not want to hear that.
Yeah. When I was wearing it, that was definitely the number one thing was people, I think they're boring. Why aren't they? But I think also, to build on what you said too, a big thing that we've talked about is um, facilitating that communication across departments. And the bond is a big part of that because, you might be in the compliance department, that's your focus, that's your team's focus. But then the finance team is over here operating on a different kind of frequency. And the bond is the element that brings that together. And the data behind the bond can really help bridge that gap. So yeah, I mean, we love to, we'll convince you, I swear, that bonds are not boring.
Do our best. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's kind of all the little wrap up questions. I think that kind of gives a good idea of at least our experiences at this year's conference. Anything else, Travis, or?
Boy, no, just appreciate people watching this and having interest, and, let us know your thoughts. Let us know your experiences. There's a lot to be learned, and we learn through discussion. So let's keep the communication open. Reach out to us on LinkedIn or however, shoot us an email, give us a call. But that ICPA, thanks for everybody that organized it. As usual, if you're not a member of ICPA and you're in the importing world or international shipping world, consider joining as an individual. You get a year membership for free. It's really a no-brainer, and the community you get from that and the support can help,
Yeah.
to say the least. So can't
Yeah.
speak highly enough of ICPA.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's always a great time being there. It's great being with everybody at the conference, talking to kind of like-minded people, also dealing with the same issues. So we
Yeah, I
love being
mean,
there.
and it's not only the conference which occurs, they have several
Yes.
conferences throughout the year, but throughout the year they allow for members to
Mhm.
post questions. And then you have a community of compliance
Yeah.
professionals answering questions. They're not service providers. They're just people in a similar scenario as you who maybe have experienced what you had,
Yeah.
and they have answers, or at least they have a perspective to help you move forward. Because, man, it can be hard getting answers sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, thanks, Travis, for taking the time, and thanks everybody for watching. And we'll hopefully be back with more.
Great. Thanks, Meredith.
Thanks.